Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another episode of B is for Build. We got a doubleheader this week, 2 episodes this week, working on the pontoon yacht. If you're new to this project, this is a quad pontoon boat build. It is 40 feet long, it is 12 feet wide, it is a double decker with 2 levels, it has an integrated hot tub in the front, got 500 horsepower of Mercury motors here in the back, and when we mounted these motors, I was calling it an inboard-outboard design, and people really did not agree with me that it was an inboard-outboard. But I'm gonna see if, by the end of today's episode, where we think we stand. I'll let you guys decide what you wanna call it. But in today's episode, we are basically building the engine boxes. There are these big hinging covers that go over the engines, and then they allow for people to hang out and sit on top of them, sleep on top of them. It's a full layout section to get sun tanning, do it, whatever you need to, over the engines, so it's usable space. It also hides my ugly engines. And yeah, we got a little bit of work to do to finish the swim deck on the back. So that's what's in store for today's episode. Let's jump into it. Right now we're waiting on some materials for some things, so we're just gonna start working on whatever we can work on. We've got the materials to do the downshoot bars. So if you saw the design of the back of this boat in the last episode, you'll notice I added this bar that starts at that corner right there, and it runs down to right here. I'm gonna go ahead and start shaping that bar up. What we're gonna do is we're gonna fabricate that all out to be a bolt-in application rather than a weld-on, because that's all nice and painted. So we'll get it all welded up, we'll paint it really nice to match, and then we'll bolt it on to our frame over there. And that's just a little bar that, you know, is basically there for safety so people don't fall off the side of the boat. Also, our flooring that we got cut up and ready, this is the added flooring that is now a walkway that goes out to the swim deck. This is, I don't know if it's obvious or not, but it is not bolted on. Almost killed me in the last episode. So we're gonna go ahead and get that flooring bolted down, and then we also need to add a little bit of wood running that way as well. Kyle got the wood flooring all bolted down, wood filled in, everything extending all the way around and onto the other side. Somebody had commented worrying about the engines going up enough. Based on where the water line is, that is all of the important parts of the engine out of the water, so I'm happy with that. I got the railings welded up, tabs on them, cleaned up, ready to be painted. We are running out of time today, so we can't paint these. We'll paint them first thing in the morning. But one thing we can do is stir up a little bit of our glue and extend our carpet. So we ended our carpet right here at this line here. The barbecue and cooler boxes overlap going this way, but then we need to make sure that we're filling the walkway this way, running back. So basically we're gonna be cutting a couple pieces of carpet, running them back all the way to the back. Whenever we're working on a new build, we've got to make sure that there's no weak points in the structure. One poor design, one weak connection, one bad weld can cause huge issues further down the line. And what I've come to learn recently is the same concept applies to your online security. You are far more likely to become a victim of an online crime than you are a home burglary. Yet, how many of you guys have home security cameras or home security systems but don't protect yourself online? And I get it, it's a lot harder to stay on top of online crime. One small mishap like using an unsecured network or clicking on the wrong link or accidentally answering a spam call or text can lead to financial fraud or identity theft. Thankfully, I'm now set up with Aura, the sponsor of today's episode, and they make staying safe online simple. Aura helps me by showing me which data brokers are selling my information by automatically sending opt-out requests for me. And it also shows me which of my passwords have been compromised in big data leaks, which is really great so you know not to use those anymore. Cleaning up all this information is really great because it helps protect me from different hackers who could use this information to gain access to my sensitive information like my social media, my bank accounts, and other things like that. Aura also has other features like antivirus, VPN, password management, parental controls, identity theft insurance, and more, all within their one app. It's really easy to set up, it's super affordable, making a huge help for my safety, security, and concentration at work. I value my privacy and I value yours. So if you would like to support the channel and start feeling safe online, check out my link. It is at the top of the description or it is on the screen right here. It's aura.com/B is for build. Click the link in the description and start your 2-week free trial. That is enough time for Aura to determine how vulnerable you are. Huge thanks to Aura for sponsoring this episode. Let's get back to it. Carpet is installed. We let it dry up overnight. It is now the next day. It's very firmly on there. So now I'm ready to trim the edges on the carpet. And that is carpeting done for the bottom floor. Win on that. First thing this morning, Kyle jumped onto our railings to get a coat of primer. This is the same primer that we used up there. And he did a really good job of getting a quick coat of primer on these things. We're gonna do the same method with a detail gun, getting 2 coats of the gloss black on here. While he was doing that, I was getting supplies. Metal Supermarket's order is in, and look at all this aluminum. Now this is just the aluminum square tube. The aluminum sheet was too big to fit in the Range Rover, so we got to bring the Raptor back and go get that. But anyways, this is what I need to get started as far as building out the boxes. From an engineering standpoint, building out a box is pretty dang simple. Designing it is super, super simple. But the thing to keep in mind here is that these are engine covers, so we got to make sure that we leave room for the engines to tilt and turn to their maximum without interfering in any way in the boxes. So that's roughly, you know, the constraints that we have around the boxes. So luckily I have my engines here visualized in 3D space. The blue part is the tolerances, so you can't interfere with that or else it'll interfere with the engine. And then just wrap a good old cube of aluminum around it. So this was very fast, it only took about 30 minutes. It also helped me visualize and check the pivoting point, make sure that we're not gonna run into the barbecue boxes. And then lastly, what I decided to do on this one too was, it's kind of cool, you can go online and see the weight of any material. So I was looking at aluminum with a 1/8 inch thick wall, you know, aluminum square tube, and you can see how much it weighs per foot. Calculate all the feet that you have, and then you can calculate your sheet metal weight as well. And by doing this here, I could know for sure that my box wasn't gonna weigh too much when I finished building it. Now the material's in, let's start building. So if we look at it as a skeleton without the sheet metal skin on it, I'm seeing a big rectangle here, 51.5 by 69 long, and one on the top and one on the bottom of each box. And I think that's a good starting point for building these out. So we're gonna go ahead and cut 45s into the lengths of each one of these, bunch of 45 cuts, and then I'll be able to start welding them together. We should have 8 rectangles when we're done. Quick detour, we had to paint these rails before lunch. That way they could be dry enough for us to now cut things. 16 pieces, 2 cuts each piece at 45 degrees. That's like 45,000 cuts. Got all the edges weld prepped on these because they got to end up flat. I found a nice flat piece of ground right about here. We'll start laying out these rectangles, welding them up. I'll get 4 of them? We get 4 of them welded up while Kyle cuts the uprights and the centers. So the centers are right here. They're going to be 4 inches more narrow, and the uprights are these guys right here. It seems like not a big deal to just weld 4 rectangles together. It's actually a lot of work. That was like, I don't know, a couple hours. But we've got 4 rectangles, and then we've got all our uprights cut, which means it's time to make 2 boxes. Good afternoon, everybody. It's the next day. We get a little bit of a late start today, so we're gonna have to do a hard push to get this thing done on time. Again, it's like the swim deck took too long. We're trying not to fall behind schedule on everything we do. I think we have all the materials. This should come together quick. Here's something that we learned at the end of the day yesterday. We got this thing built. It does not need gussets. Kyle and I have both done a little dance on here, both of our weight, trying to move it around. It ain't budging. It's really, really strong. So that's good. We don't need any extra gusseting. I thought we were gonna run a bunch of bars parallel. We probably don't wanna be looking at that. Parallel through here to support the sheet metal on top because this is a laying area. People might be walking or laying on this area. I thought we would need that. I ordered the big boy sheet metal on this. I guess I'm gonna say on accident. I ordered it at a 0.125 thickness, which makes it very, very rigid, and unfortunately makes it a little bit heavy. So the boxes are gonna gain some weight, that's for sure, but that shouldn't matter. But what it also means is that this sheet metal is rigid enough that it does not need a support running through the middle. I was dancing on there earlier and it looks good, guys. So most of this construction is rivet on, but these are 51.5 inches wide and the sheet metal only comes at 48, which gives us just a sliver to run around that edge. So that's gonna have to be a weld on edge. So that's what I'm gonna do next. I'm gonna weld the edges and then it's down to just flap disc sanding everything so we have a really nice tight exterior that we can sheet on. Okay, I got this box done. Few things to note. If I weld it at a different angle, I don't think I'll get as much spatter and it'll save a lot of time on sanding. But also, we're not gonna do the sides because we wanna see which boxes meet up the best with each other. There's gonna be slight variations in these because we're not building like on a welding table, like a whole frame jig or anything like that. So given that the floor is gonna have some differences off of level, these boxes are gonna be a little bit handmade, I'll say. So if I wait to put the sides on it, we can get them both up on the boat and see how the two match up the best from side to side and everything so we can get a nice match. So with that being said, that means no sides for now. I'm on to the next box, gonna make up the next box, and then we'll throw them on over the engines and start to size them up. All right, guys, we lifted one of the engine covers up onto there. Well, actually, as you can see, we lifted both of them onto there. So anyways, we wanted to find the right match in the way that we wanted everything to set and to go. That way I knew to put the roof on the right one. Anyways, so this is the one that gets the roof, and then I'll make some angular marks on there so we know which way is the front and the back. Kyle is working on the trim for the swim deck. So we got swim deck upper skin piece 1, piece 2. These will get riveted through here, and then we've got angle iron going all the way around that's going to get riveted on to give it a nice finish. Now, I did read all your guys' comments about the sharp edges, and I think that's a very, very good point. Obviously, if we're going to have people swimming around here and playing around here, building super sharp edges is just a dumb idea. So I've decided that I'm going to 3D print some like end caps that are going to be 3D printed out of TPU, which is basically a pretty stiff rubber. And I expect that they will last a pretty long time. And it'll be a fun test to see how long TPU does in sun and UV durability and stuff like that. So I'm gonna basically be 3D printing some end caps around here to make sure people don't bonk their heads too hard. Granted, this is 12 feet long and there's a lot of stuff you can hit yourself on, but at least I will take your advice on the corners. Let's proceed. Kyle got almost all of the trim done around the swim deck and it looks amazing. We just got to pull the swim deck out so we can do the back piece. Now, in the very same style that this happened, you can see that We're using a thinner gauge here, and we don't have all the wobblies in it from welding, which is great. I managed to get very, very few wobblies in this piece, but the most important part is there's no popping or anything like that on this piece, which is great, and that's good enough for me. So I'm gonna go on to skinning this piece, and now there's only 3 sides of each of these boxes that get covered. It's the outside, the back side, and the top side. The center section shares open air. The back section shares open air, so we can have airflow coming out of the things that we are building in front of this. One of them is a barbecue box and the other is a cooler box. The cooler box has a fridge in it. I want the fridge to be able to exhaust air into here. The barbecue box obviously is a barbecue, so I want that to be able to exhaust air into here as well. So it's kind of like a little bit of an open build out. So it's relatively straightforward. I'll throw a sheet of aluminum on here. I'll start getting my angle aluminum all in place, and then I'm gonna rivet it on. Hopefully it'll keep it nice and flat. So we got a new tool from Harbor Freight. It is a pneumatic rivet gun. And if you follow the instructions and fill it up like they tell you to with hydraulic oil, it will be overfilled. And its first shot will exhaust hydraulic oil all over your body. And I don't know if you guys know how that stuff smells, but it's not my favorite cologne. But other than that, the thing's pretty cool. And I kind of wish we had gotten one earlier. So that'll save our hands from grip fatigue. I made an oopsies. You might notice that piece of metal is not as tall as that piece of box, or that material too short. It's really expensive material. I think I want to weld it to make up for the difference, so I actually ordered it as wide as the top piece, which means I can weld it on there, but it's getting so late that that is a job for tomorrow. So this is supposed to be 2 days to build 2 boxes. This is day 3. Tomorrow's day 4, so we're doing great. This boat's gonna be finished by Christmas. And we're back for day 4 of our 2-day box build. Here we go. Game plan. I'm gonna put the material on here. I'm gonna weld it on here. If it doesn't warp and it doesn't get out of place, we'll be able to use it and nobody will know the difference. If it does warp and it gets out of place, we're gonna cut it off and buy more material. It's just like 140 bucks to buy the new material, and I've already wasted like $400 or $500 in the last week or two. I think like $400 in mistakenly ordering the wrong size of material. A big one was these receivers. When I bought the 2 small size receivers, I think that cost me like, it was a lot. It was a lot. So I've kind of been burning through the bankroll a little bit on mistakes, so I'm gonna try and salvage this one as best as I can, but no compromises. So if it's not perfect, this is literally the back of the boat that everybody is gonna see. Our name is gonna be on there and everything. This can't look like crap. Can't have warps in it. I'm gonna try my best. Le finished box. It's now that we've got hydraulic oil fingerprints all over, it's not quite as elegant as I had hoped, but the side piece is nice and flat. That's one big thing that I really just wanted to make sure happened. All the faces are flat. Now the top gets covered by a really big cushion. It's basically like a bed mattress goes on top of this. It's more, you know, it's vinyl colored like the cushions over there, and material wise. So the top gets covered, so that's why I'm not worried about, you know, putting a bunch of sanding marks and a little bit of warpage and stuff on the top. Don't really care because you'll never know. But these were really important to me to get flat without wobbles, and we did it. So that's a big win. I just put tacks on the inside edge, and that holds our sides down, and that helped it from not warping. And then we got our trim all around it. It's looking good. This whole thing gets vinyl wrapped, and once it's all vinyl wrapped to match the boat, it's gonna look really, really stellar. There is a lip right here because there is going to be an overlap. One of these sides gets a piece bolted onto it and the other side gets an overlap. So this will probably get cut off. That'll probably get cut off. I'm just not sure which of these boxes holds the overlap edge and which of them receives the overlap edge. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this up onto the boat with the help of Kyle, and then I'll get that guy down, same treatment. Little progress update on where Kyle's at. We're getting insulation put inside the swim deck everywhere. It's insulation that is foam. We looked up some studies on this water absorption of this foam. It's pretty good. It's gonna do the trick for what we need to do, which is basically not let water into this, so this baby will float on us. A lot of people did mention that the buoyancy of this is a lot higher than the weight of it. I really don't think that's gonna be an issue, but you know, if it is, we can always pull some foam back out of it. It won't be very hard. Okay, another box done. That's all fabbed up and ready to go on the boat. We're gonna start thinking about hinges. Kyle did an amazing job on the bottom of this swim deck. So it's, as you saw, it's filled with foam. Nice thin sheet of aluminum on the back. And then we got our railings all around. And again, I will be putting some bumpers on these things out of rubber so nobody hits themselves. Let's go ahead and slide this on the boat. I can honestly say I've never been so proud of building a giant cube. Kyle, can I borrow that ladder? Hop up. It's straight. It's geometrical. Now, there's a middle seam right here. I bought a 4-inch strip to cover this, but remember we forgot that these were short. And so I'm gonna make that a 6-inch strip, and that gets bolted to whatever box we want to overlap the other box. So it'll be, you gotta open one box and then you open the other. That way we have a nice overlap here and no water will get through, and hopefully it'll help block out the sound as well. So that strip's gonna run up and then across the top too. Now, without any furniture on here or anything else, obviously it looks like we just put a giant stupid box on the boat, but this is like a trust the rendering moment, and it'll look good when it's all together, when it's all done. So from the back here, this is what it looks like. It is hiding both of our engines. Both the engines can fully swing to the left and to the right, and they can fully tilt they can tilt all the way until they get out of the water without hitting the roof there, which is epic. And they did not, now when we were lifting them by ourselves, it was a little bit hard, but now that they're hinging, you can literally lift them up with one hand. So I'm just so happy with the way that these turned out. Now, I wanna ask you guys for a little bit of help here. I'm not exactly an upholstery guy. I need to get some vinyl fabric. I basically need to build a cushion that looks kind of like this. This is one of the boats that brought inspiration for these engine boxes. So if you notice, it's all the same color of vinyl fabric, but it's got quilted pattern on the inside, and then it's just the flat fabric on the sides and the sides in the back. I can find quilted and I can find plain, but I can't find the same color of quilted and plain. If you know a place where I can order some in some good neutral color, please email me, Chris@BSforBuild. Basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna buy like twin mattress foam, basically, cut it down to be the size of the box, upholster it that way, put a little bit of a rise for a headrest in here, and that's what goes on here. And the idea is it's double duty, it's double duty space. You can lay out on here, people can stand on here, they can jump off of here, they can do whatever they want. And we have the engines underneath, and then it also, it hides our engines and makes the boat a little bit more elegant, and also hides the fact that I bought some budget used engines for my brand new boat. You cannot judge my engines if you cannot see them. I'm gonna tell people I have quad 400s under there. There was a ton of discussion on whether or not these engines were truly an inboard outboard configuration. I'd like to know your guys' input now that you have seen the full picture. There is a 3-foot swim deck on the back of them. There's, area to walk on the sides and stuff like that. I do think that this is what you would consider an inboard outboard, but also whatever it is, I don't really care. It's pretty awesome. Also, guys, I saw in the comments, you're starting to think up names. We've got a lot of space right here to put a name on the boat. Let me know if you've got any good ideas. We were gonna name the first boat B is for Boat Girls. It's not a terrible name. It can't be B is for Boat because that's already taken and registered with the Coast Guard, so that would be confusing. Unless I sink the other one again. Well, I hope you like our quick, not quick, midweek episode that came out on a Friday. There's gonna be another episode coming out on Monday when we build our barbecue and our fridge, cooler, prep area box. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss anything. If you wanna shop at B is for Build, the website is bisforbuild.com. Thank you guys so much for the support. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Peace!